Hello, everybody. With the announced reduction in domestic air passenger duty and 3p off a pint, it was a great budget for anyone planning to fly to Newcastle for a stag do. But what else was in there? Well, we've heard mention that COP26 is due to start on Sunday, and in today's papers I read that leading scientists have written to world leaders urging them to reduce greenhouse emissions. It was no surprise then that Rishi Sunak took the opportunity yesterday to mention the UK's net zero strategy. A key part of that strategy is phasing out petrol and diesel cars by 2030. So I thought I would have a look at whether the government is just talking the talk or whether it is in fact walking the walk when it comes to its tax policies. We can see from this slide that the government is using the carrot of low tax bills to encourage the drivers of company cars to hand back the keys to their petrol or diesel and choose an electric vehicle instead. Benefit in kind rates for electric cars for the current tax year are 1%, increasing slightly to 2% from next year. Hybrids are charged up to 14% from 2022-23. These rates are significantly lower than the 37% benefit in kind charge for cars with the highest emissions. The question remains, however, whether employers are prepared to offer employees enough budget to cover the lease costs of more expensive electric cars. We can see here that the van benefit charge remains at nil next year, assuming zero carbon emissions, as compared to £3,500 for petrol or diesel vans. So how is the UK doing, when it comes to electric cars compared to the rest of the world? This slide shows the number of electric cars per 1,000 people. You can see the tallest bars on the chart are Norway, Iceland and Sweden. So the Scandinavian countries are streets ahead of everyone else. So what are they doing differently? Countries such as Norway subsidise electric cars. In the March budget, however, the UK cut grants for electric car buyers. The maximum grant for electric cars was reduced from £3,000 to £2,500. And the government also lowered the price cap for cars eligible for the subsidy from £50,000 down to £35,000, taking lots of vehicles out of contention. Given that electric cars are seen as a crucial part of meeting the UK's decarbonisation targets, it isn't clear why grants have been halved over the last decade. So in the year that the government is hosting the UN's climate conference, we have seen them take the controversial step of reducing grants for electric cars, whilst at the same time trying to keep petrol costs down by freezing fuel duty. So have they really been trying to cut emissions? Well, it does look that way when it comes to vehicle excise duty. As we can see from this slide, there is a huge discount in year one for cars with low emissions in terms of the amount of car tax payable, with potential savings of over £2,000 to be made by choosing a Tesla instead of a Range Rover, for example. However, the system is not as straightforward as it seems. I'd like to give you a real-life example. I have a daughter who likes shopping. She likes popping off to Westfield in her 2014 diesel Golf. But since Monday, the expansion of the ultra-low emission zone, another one of the government's green initiatives, it's now going to cost her an extra £12.50 to drive into London. So she's been looking at getting a second-hand BMW hybrid. However, I've had to point out to her that although the basic car tax would be very low, this car would fall foul of the additional higher charge in years 2 to 6 for vehicles costing more than £40,000 when new, even though she was thinking of buying it second-hand for much less. This affects lots of plug-in hybrids as they are more expensive to manufacture and means owners face a £335 a year tax surcharge for 5 years from the second year of ownership, irrespective of whether they emit ultra-low amounts of CO2 or whether they are high-polluting vehicles. When it comes to the second-hand car market then, this clearly reduces the incentive for buyers to go green. Moving on now to property. Some of you will have seen the recent article on residential property developer tax on our website. This is part of the government's building safety package, which aims to remove unsafe cladding. Activities caught by the new rules will include anything done by the developer in connection with the development of UK land and buildings for residential purposes, and it could include just obtaining a residential planning permission. There are a number of exclusions from the scope of the new charge, which cover residential care homes, student accommodation, and not-for-profit housing companies. But for other developers, the new tax will be levied at a rate of 4% from next year. However, it's only going to apply to companies with residential property development profits over 25 million. And I'm sure many of our smaller property developer clients breathed a sigh of relief when they heard that. Stamp duty holiday that ran from the 8th of July last year to the 30th of September has now finished, and so SDLT rates for residential properties are now back to normal. It's worth mentioning the 2% surcharge rate that now applies in addition to the other SDLT rates for non-UK residents who are purchasing residential property in England and Northern Ireland. This means that a foreign purchaser buying his second UK property could be looking at a whopping SDLT charge of up to 17%. And here we have the SDLT rates for commercial property. Annual tax on enveloped dwellings. ATAT is an annual charge on companies which hold dwellings with a value of over £500,000 as of April 2017. The ATAT charge increased automatically each year in line with inflation. We heard from Matt about inflation just now, and so this means that the ATAT charges are going to rise quite a bit from April 22 by 3.1%, in fact. As a result of the pandemic, a business rates holiday had already been offered to the retail and leisure sector, and in his budget speech, Rishi Sunak said that this would be extended to the 2022-23 tax year, meaning that pubs, music venues, casinos, gyms and hotels will be able to claim a further discount on their business rates of up to 50%. And for the final topic, I'd like to talk about freeports. Following the UK's departure from the EU, the government announced the creation of freeports. They are a key part of the government's economic plans for levelling up, which we've all heard a lot about recently. The aim is to regenerate areas around transport hubs by offering significant tax incentives, simplify custom procedures, and streamline planning processes. In March this year, 8 Freeport sites were announced around the UK, you can see on the map, and one of these was Freeport East. You can see from this map that Freeport East is not just the areas around the Felixstowe and Harwich docks, but covers a much wider area than people realise. In particular, there are exciting new developments in Stowmarket and Great Blakenham, which fall within the Freeport zone, which many local businesses are considering as sites for relocation or expansion. Here's the plan for the Gateway 14 Freeport site in Stowmarket. Planning permission was received a few weeks ago in September. Work has already started on the infrastructure, and there will be opportunities for businesses to move onto the site as soon as next year. Here's a reminder of why local companies are considering Freeport East for their business. We've got enhanced 10% rate for structures and buildings allowance up until September 2026. Means you can get your tax relief in full within 10 years. Usually it takes well over 30. Enhanced capital allowances for plants and machinery, and plus no employer's NI is payable for employees who work within the Freeport site. The relief covers earnings up to £25,000 for 36 months per employee. And the perks don't stop there. You can claim relief from stamp duty land tax when buying land or buildings in a designated Freeport tax site before September 26. And in addition, if you own a building in a Freeport site and then lease it out to someone else, the SDLT relief also extends to the lease payments. 5 years worth of business rates relief will also be available to businesses moving into a Freeport zone. And deferral of duties and simplified customs procedures make these locations even more attractive. In short, the introduction of Freeports represents a fantastic opportunity for companies across every sector in our region, not just those with import and export operations. Thank you for listening. That's all from me, so I will hand back to Jason.